to Pocketbook Pediatrics. I'm Dr. Richland Brown, and as usual, I'm always so happy to have you here with me. And of course, it's the Christmas season, so a very Merry Christmas to you. I hope everyone had a very good Christmas day and Christmas holiday season, and Happy New Year to you as we're going into the new year very shortly. So today we're just going to wrap up what to expect after expecting and just round out the year. And we're going to start right back where we left off, and we're going to talk about the MMR vaccine. So what does MMR stand for? It's the Measles, Mumps, and Rubella vaccine. And these are all viral illnesses. So they're going to cause a lot of the viral things that we've already spoken about before. So measles, what are we going to expect with measles? Again, fever, rash can cause some runny nose. This one can cause some conjunctivitis, or that infection of the eye with the redness, grittiness, watery eyes, and so on. And it can also cause some cough as well. Now, the big thing with measles though is not so much these viral symptoms, but that it also makes the immune system weaker. And so it makes you more likely to get what we call a secondary infection. So the measles virus infection plus something else, which can be a bacterial infection. And sometimes these bacterial infections can be very bad. So these include things like pneumonia, and we've spoken before about pneumonia being the #1 killer of children under 5. So we definitely don't want our kids getting a bad pneumonia. It can cause those infections around the brain and spine. So that's like a meningitis or encephalitis. Can cause ear infections. But then there's also something else we have to think about, which is not related to the child. And remember, we speak a lot about the community on this channel as well. So this is speaking to the mummy of that child who may be pregnant, or the mummy in the community who is now pregnant and exposed to this child. Measles is a very bad illness to have while you're pregnant because it can cause a lot of complications there as well. Complications like causing baby to come prematurely, or there may be spontaneous abortions, or even what we call stillbirth. So unfortunately, baby passes away before they're born. And it can also cause maternal death. So we really want to protect our mummies from getting the measles infection as well. Then we talk about mumps. Now the mumps virus causes similar symptoms of fever and rash. But one of the most marked things you're going to say about the mumps virus is that it causes what we call a parotitis. Parotitis speaks to the salivary glands. So we have many salivary glands, some in the cheeks, some under the tongue, some under the chin. But the main ones that are involved in this infection are the ones in the cheeks. So you see those swollen and puffy, and sometimes people call them chipmunk looking type of cheeks. And it's something that can be painful as your child eats and the saliva is trying to come through the glands and having some difficulty. It can cause some pain. So we don't want them to have that. And then the other thing we have to think about is our pubertal kids who are starting their reproductive years. Now, for boys, one of the problems they can have is what is called an orchiditis. Orchiditis speaks to the testes, or the balls down in the ball sack. And what can happen is they can get inflamed and painful. It usually only involves one side, but anytime a young boy or a man has testicular pain, this is something that can be an emergency. So it's definitely something that you'd want to go to the hospital and be sure that it's not something more sinister than a mumps infection. And then our young girls can have something similar, but girls have ovaries, so it's an oophorytis, inflammation of the ovaries, and that too can cause pain. And what you're going to see here is fever, lower abdominal pain, sometimes even vomiting. So these are not things that we really want our kids to experience or go through. So we want to prevent the mumps infection. And then we have the rubella virus. Now, of all three, this one is the most mild of them all. And in fact, children actually can be asymptomatic of it. But it tends to cause a fever, but not a very high fever, a low-grade fever. And it also causes rash. And this rash tends to start on the face and progress down to the feet. Does not involve the palms, does not involve the soles of the feet. It can cause you to have lymphadenopathy, or that is swelling of the lymph nodes. And again, that's wax and cannon, we call it in the Caribbean. And the lymph nodes tend to be the ones that are around the neck area here. Now, these symptoms really aren't all that bad, and they tend to last for maybe 2 to 5 days. The bigger problem is not the infection of the child themselves, but adults. Adults tend to have a worse course of infection with rubella than children do. And again, we have to come back to our very special population, which is our mummies. Congenital rubella syndrome, or getting infected with rubella in pregnancy, can really cause some great problems for the baby and the mummy. So it again can cause some anomalies or birth defects. Problems with the baby's heart, can cause cataracts in the eyes. It can cause for the baby to have hearing impairments. And then also later down the road, we're not going to see this at birth, but later down the road, we see problems with their neurodevelopment. So how they're learning and growing, and they may become what we call intellectually disabled. And also, interestingly, the rubella virus has been found to be associated with autism spectrum disorder. So I have to stop a moment and talk about this, because there have been thoughts in the past that the MMR vaccine actually was causative for autism spectrum disorder. But many studies have been done and none have been able to prove that the MMR vaccine is causative for autism spectrum disorder. But quite the opposite, as rubella is associated with the development of autism, prevention of rubella is actually protective against autism spectrum disorder. So the MMR vaccine actually now is thought to be protective against autism spectrum disorder for this reason. So we need to just dispel all those, beliefs and speak the truth now that MMR vaccines are actually quite beneficial for many reasons. And there's no risk of autism with the MMR vaccine. The MMR vaccine is given at 12 years, and the booster used to routinely be given at 4 to 6 years. But in recent years, because there have been little pockets of outbreaks of rubella, it has been thought that it's beneficial to give the kids their booster at 18 months. So in Jamaica, other Caribbean countries, and in the Americas, you may find that the MMR vaccine is given as a booster at 18 months, but maybe in your country, it's still being given at 4 to 6 years. Now, the other vaccine that's on our local schedule is the HPV vaccine. So some people think, okay, after 4 to 6, I'm done. But no, we do have the HPV vaccine that is given as well. And this one sometimes may be a little bit more controversial for parents, because this one is given not to protect against fever, rash, and things like that, but against the human papilloma virus. Now, this virus is transmitted usually sexually, and it's the biggest cause of cervical cancer and other reproductive cancers. So things like cancer of the penis, cancer of the vagina, cancer of the anus or the bottom area, and it also causes genital warts. So some parents have the thought that giving this vaccine kind of opens the doorway for their children to become active reproductively. But what it really means is that we need to sit down with our kids and talk to them as parent and child, or if you so desire, parent, doctor, and child, and really speak to them about what the benefits of this vaccine are, not for now, really, but really to protect them in their future. And of course, we have to think about the fact that we do still live in an evil world. So while we're not promoting them to go out and be sexually active, we are protecting them against other evils in this world, which may occur, unfortunately. So we want to make sure that we give them all the protection that we can. So the HPV vaccine is given to our preteens at 9 to 12 years old, and it's given to both boys and girls. It's beneficial when given to both boys and girls to help prevent these cancers and infections in the future. Now, that's really it for the things that are on the schedule. We spoke about the fact that you get a booster at 4 to 6 years for your diphtheria, tetanus, and your polio vaccines. And you should really get a tetanus booster every 7 years. So if you haven't had your tetanus booster in a while, you need to dust off your vaccination card and go get yourself your shot. And it really is to protect you, because you never know when an injury may occur. But we can also speak a little bit about the vaccines that are not in the schedule. And it's really just to name them for you so that you can decide whether your child you think may benefit from them, or just go have a further conversation with your pediatrician about whether they think your child may benefit from any of these other vaccines. So we have things like the pneumococcal vaccine that's going to protect against the pneumococcal bacteria we spoke about that can cause those lung infections, ear infections, sinusitis, and so on. We have the meningococcal vaccine, which, just like it sounds, protects against a bacteria that causes meningitis, usually given to kids in their teen years when they're going off to college to protect them in that college environment. We also have things like the flu vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, and others. So that really is the whole gamut of what we do where vaccines are concerned. But remember, guys, it's not a vaccine visit, it's a well visit. So we also have to encourage you that in the years that you don't have vaccines, those in between years and all of those growing up years coming up to the teenage years, we still want to see you. We still want to be sure that we're on top of what's happening with your kids, how they're developing. Maybe you have some new questions that you need to ask. Maybe there might be things that we're catching with their growth and development that you might not be seeing day to day that we can help see, over time. So it's still important that at least once a year you do come in for your well visit first to make sure that your kids are continuing to grow up well. We do really want to grow with you. So that's it for what to expect after expecting. I hope as we've gone through this year, you have a better idea of, okay, what's next, what's coming up next, what should I expect? And you formulated your questions that you're going to take to your pediatrician, whether you or whether your auntie or guardian or whoever. But you have a better idea of, okay, this is what we're doing going forward. And there can be no fear going into the well visits or no confusion. You really have an idea of what we're going to do and what we're interested in to help you and your family as we grow up with you. If you've been liking these videos, guys, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And we really look forward to seeing you the next time on Pocketbook Pediatrics and seeing you in the new year, God willing. God bless.